Wink News begins with breaking news.
Breaking right now, thoughts and prayers are pouring in this morning for a police officer in Fort Myers who was seriously hurt in a shootout. We are live at Lee Memorial Hospital where the officer is still hospitalized. Dozens of officers can be seen coming and going for hours overnight. Now, let me show where this shooting actually happened. It was in the area of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and Flint Drive, right near a Marathon gas station. That's near Flea Masters. Happened around 7:30 last night. Witnesses say a man with a long gun tried to carjack people in the middle of MLK near a Marathon gas station. About 3 hours later, they say the officer got into a shootout with the man. Both of them were hurt, and witnesses say the scene was very chaotic. One witness we spoke with says the gunman was ready to shoot as soon as the officer got there.
Because dude he had that look in his face like he's definitely trying to get away, like whatever. And then if you pull a gun out on somebody in the middle of the street, in the middle of an intersection, you're ready for whatever happens anyway. So
this morning, both directions of MLK Boulevard are still closed between Veronica Shoemaker and Michigan Avenue. And the Lee County Sheriff's Office has the road blocked around Flint Avenue as well. Police are urging you to avoid this area. And we are still working to confirm the identity of the officer and the suspect. Both are being treated at Lee Memorial. And Wink News reporter Janae Muchmore has been there for hours gathering the latest details. Well, Governor Rick Scott called Fort Myers Police Chief Derek Diggs and Lee County Sheriff Mike Scott to express his support overnight. He sent this tweet offering any state resources. And overnight, the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office expressed their support, tweeting, "Tonight, we pray for our brothers and sisters with the Fort Myers Police Department. Please keep them in your thoughts as they continue to serve their community through this stressful time." The Punta Gorda Police Department also expressed their support in a similar tweet, sending thoughts and prayers. And if you step away from your TV, you can follow the latest developments with this story by downloading the Wink News app for your smartphone or tablet. Now let's get a check of the weather forecast with meteorologist Brooke Silverang. I would like to go to the beach today.
Yes.
But you're talking about rain in the forecast, so what's going on?
Well, it's a lot different than yesterday around this time. Most of the rain we had yesterday was in Charlotte County and spread across in the later half of the day. Now we are going to start to see a few showers popping up. So if you want to go to the beach,
Well, new this morning, it's a terrible sight on our beaches. People pulled a dolphin out of the water in Englewood this weekend. They believe that red tide killed it. And new this morning, Wink News reporter Morgan Reiner shows us how some locals are hoping to prevent more marine life from sharing the same fate. Get that pup some Benadryl. Meanwhile, wildlife officials are investigating to see if red tide did, in fact, kill that dolphin. And one simple solution that might help with this blue-green algae mess that we've been talking about for weeks, well, experts say more seagrass in the Caloosahatchee could lessen the severity and duration of these toxic algal blooms. Seagrass is known to play a vital role in maintaining water quality by filtering out nutrients and sediment. A local boat captain says the seagrass is having trouble growing because the algae is eating up all those nutrients.
It blocks the sunlight, for one thing, that gets through the water, and it also sucks up oxygen. And the seagrass needs both of that. Everything that lives here needs that seagrass, mollusks and clams and the oysters, the fish.
Some organizations have already tried to restore the seagrass in the river. The Charlotte Harbor National Estuary Program has teamed up with local homeowners to lay fresh vegetation there in hopes of producing some seeds. And we continue following breaking news in Fort Myers this morning. This is a live look at Lee Memorial Hospital, where an officer is fighting for his life following a shootout. But first, brand new details on the deadly duck boat accident in Missouri. Why one former chairman for the National Transportation Safety Board says you should never get on one of these boats. A scary day in Southern California after a man caused a deadly hostage situation outside of this grocery store. Officials in Los Angeles say the man led officers on a chase before crashing in front of Trader Joe's and taking bystanders hostage. Police say the man shot his grandmother and girlfriend earlier in the day, which triggered that chase. One woman in the store was killed, but police did not say how. Meanwhile, some employees managed to escape just moments after the gunman stormed in.
I wasn't sure if I had a viable exit on the ground floor, so I proceeded upstairs. We were even upstairs storage space. I grabbed a couple of my coworkers, brought them back as well. I barricaded the hallway as best I could, grabbed a weapon, and put the ladder out the window.
That employee was able to lead 3 of his coworkers to safety. The gunman surrendered. New details on the duck boat accident that left 17 people dead in Missouri. A former National Transportation Safety Board chairman says the vessels should be banned from commercial use. James Hall says the design of the World War II era boats makes them very prone to sinking, and they were not designed to be used commercially. A private inspector says it warned the owners of Ripley Entertainment about similar design flaws in their duck boats before. Investigators say they'll be looking closely at the company in the weeks ahead.
We will look back at the maintenance records, the previous inspections, and have some witnesses and some interviews that may tell us as to the condition of the engine and the ability to pump the bilge water out.
The NTSB says it will remove the boat from the lake next week. In the meantime, Ripley Entertainment is closed. Well, this new picture is showing us the aftermath of a deadly crash that happened in Charlotte County. This mangled car crashed into a canal, killing 48-year-old Travis Becker. The crash happened yesterday morning right over the El Jobin Bridge. Troopers say Becker left the road and flipped into the water. They're still investigating if he was wearing a seatbelt. And this picture out of Hillsborough County shows us why you should always slow down or move over for emergency vehicles. First responders say the driver of this car slammed into fire trucks as crews were trying to clean up another crash. The driver ended up getting trapped, and firefighters had to rip open the car and fly him to the hospital. And check out this close call for a state trooper. Did you see it? He had to swerve out of the way to miss that tractor trailer coming on right at him. This happened in Nebraska. And look, the semi didn't entirely miss either. It brushed the side of his cruiser, but the trooper is going to be okay. Investigators say the truck driver may have suffered a medical issue.
There were real feelings between the two of us.
Well, the president's response to a former Playboy playmate who says she was paid to keep her affair secret, that's coming up. We'll also be back with a check of your weather on the One's forecast with Wink News meteorologist Brooke Silverang. The time right now is 7:18, and you're looking at a beautiful live shot of downtown Fort Myers. President Trump is responding to accusations of a secret recording that prove he paid women to keep quiet about affairs with him. The president says he did nothing wrong and claims Michael Cohen's recordings of their conversations might be illegal. The FBI says it uncovered the recording in April as part of its investigation into Cohen. It references a payment to Karen McDougal, the former Playboy model who claims her year-long affair with the president was covered up by the National Enquirer to protect the president's campaign. And we're getting more insight into why the FBI kept an eye on the Trump campaign advisor Carter Page. The Bureau released a redacted version of its surveillance warrant for Page. Investigators looked into Page while he traveled to Russia in 2016 to meet with high-level officials there. Some Republicans claim the warrant proves that U.S. law enforcement unfairly targeted the Trump campaign. But Democrats say it's legitimate because of Page's contacts with Russians. Well, it's a reunion thousands of separated immigrant children and their families are waiting for. Wink News reporter Brittany Miller brings us their journey to find one another. And on Friday, a federal judge said the Trump administration is making progress toward reunifying more than 2,500 families who were separated at the border. The administration has until this Thursday to reunite all of them. And immigration was a hot topic at a gubernatorial rally last night in Macon, Georgia. Vice President Mike Pence made a stop there to lend his support to Georgia's Secretary of State, Brian Kemp. The vice president said Kemp is the only person who can keep the governor's mansion in Republican hands. And when a protester shouted, "Abolish ICE," Pence said, "Never," triggering a round of applause. President Trump also endorsed Kemp on Twitter. Kemp is facing Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle in a Republican runoff this Tuesday. A candidate for governor in Florida is setting up an office right here in Southwest Florida. Democrat Philip Levine will try to win more of your votes in Fort Myers. There are 30 days until the Democratic gubernatorial primary. Well, in 2 days, a delegation upset over water quality will be heading to Washington, D.C. to try and get some answers for you. The leader of the South Florida Clean Water Movement will meet with lawmakers starting on Tuesday. Sanibel's mayor will also travel to Washington, D.C. for a special task force next week. Millions of young adults graduate college every year, but this graduate is a little bit of an exception. In fact, he's not even a teenager yet. William Malis received his first college degree from St. Petersburg College, and he's only 11 years old. And he's used to being the youngest in the class. He actually started college when he was 8 years old. But it's only the beginning for him.
I want to be an astrophysicist. To be honest, space is just pretty cool. But also, I want to prove to the world that God does exist through science.
He received his associate's degree yesterday. In the fall, he plans to attend the University of South Florida. We're staying on top of breaking news this morning in Fort Myers. This is a live look at Lee Memorial Hospital, where a Fort Myers police officer is recovering after a shooting overnight. And a manhunt is underway for the suspect on your screen right now. What he's accused of doing and why it's prompting a former president to express his condolences.
Wink News, now back with breaking news.
Breaking right now, an outpouring of support this morning after a Fort Myers police officer was seriously hurt in a shootout yesterday. We are live at Lee Memorial Hospital where the officer is being treated. Dozens of officers were seen coming and going for hours overnight. Witnesses say the officer was shot around 7:30 last night. They say a man with a long gun tried to carjack people in the middle of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard near Flint Drive. There's a Marathon gas station there near Flea Masters where this all took place. Wink News reporter Janae Muchmore is live at the hospital with the latest. Well, Janae, with this investigation continuing right now, is there any danger to the public? Now in the Weather Center here, getting a look at what we can expect for later today. You're tracking a chance for some thunderstorms. And we are following more breaking news, this time out of South Africa, where 11 people are dead after a gunman opened fire on a minibus near Johannesburg. Police say the victims were part of the country's National Taxi Drivers Association. The victims were returning from a funeral when the ambush happened. Police are still investigating possible motives. And we're getting our first look at the suspect in a shooting that killed the cardiologist for former President George H.W. Bush. Houston police released this sketch, and now they are scouring the city to try and find him. Investigators say Mark Housecanet was killed Friday while riding his bike to work. Police believe the shooter was also riding a bike in the opposite direction, and an ambulance just happened to be driving by moments after.
Somebody flagging us down, I said, something's wrong, and then I drove up a little further and I seen a gentleman sprawled out on the floor with blood all over him.
The Houston police chief says he's not sure if the doctor was targeted or if the shooting was caused by road rage. Police are still reviewing surveillance video at the hospital. We caught on camera. Take a look at this. A historical plane crash. A World War II airplane was trying to take off near Austin, where you can see it just gets off the ground, and the pilot loses control and the plane crashes. And here's the fiery aftermath of what happened. Amazingly, all 13 people on board were able to get out, but the plane will not be flying again anytime soon.
They were departing this morning on their way to the AirVenture Air Show in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and suffered, unfortunately, a catastrophic accident. And unfortunately, the aircraft is going to be a total loss.
And one person had to be flown to the hospital after being badly burned by that fire. 7 other passengers were hurt, and they were taken to local hospitals. New information this morning on the volcano that has threatened Hawaii's Big Island for months. Officials say the Kilauea volcano could continue spewing lava for another 2 years. The lava from the volcano is literally reshaping Hawaii. That's how the island's formed. Since the eruption began in early May, the Big Island has grown by nearly 700 acres. The scientists say the rushing rivers of lava don't appear to be slowing down at all. But hey, be careful buying grapes. The heart-stopping surprise one woman found that could land you in the hospital. Well, now this morning, be careful with your grapes. You could find one of these in them. It's a black widow spider. A Nebraska woman found not one, but 2 of them in her bag of grapes. The woman was reaching inside the bag to eat a grape when she spotted the spiders. But she's not the only one to find them. In fact, 700 to 800 people in America find black widows in their grapes every year. Still, even though they look menacing, the spiders rarely bite.
They say that black widow venom is about 14 times stronger than rattlesnake venom. However, their jaws are so weak and they're so timid, they're not aggressive, that bites aren't that common.
Now, the woman who found the spiders took them to a local nature center for safekeeping. It's the second time this week someone's found spiders in their grapes. Now the grocery store where the grapes were bought is checking with its supplier. A Little League baseball team on their way to compete at the World Series almost had to forfeit the contest because someone stole all of their equipment. Someone stole the Montana team coach's truck and trailer outside a Sacramento hotel. But even without the equipment, the boys wanted to play, and the opposing team actually helped them out. Officers later found the coach's stolen truck and trailer with all the equipment still inside. Well, a boy in Fort Myers shows the true meaning of giving back. He collected nearly 5 times his weight in food to donate to a local food pantry. And Wink News anchor Andrea Henderson shares his story. I love that hat, too. Now, Brantley's grandmother says he's now motivated to give back even more. In a statement, the Harry Chapin Food Bank said, "All of us at the food bank love the fact that a young boy would think of collecting money to buy food for our neighbors in need. When Brantley dropped off the donation, he became a hunger hero for all of us." Wink News is your source for breaking news, and ahead at 8 o'clock, a live report from Lee Memorial Hospital after a Fort Myers police officer was hurt in a shooting.